So we were discussing the outcomes of democracy, how being a democratic country, that is India, has benefited us, and whether we have been able to achieve what we wanted as the idea of India when our ancestors fought for its freedom and so. And then we also question that on what basis should we assess the outcomes of democracy? Should it be on accountability? Should it be on responsiveness? How should it be? Whether should it promote equality or dignity it promotes? So we were discussing the various aspects, okay? So then we even saw how on what criteria are we seeing that democracy is better than other alternative forms of government we have, whether it is a dictatorship, whether it's the monarchy, and so on. So we talked about accountable, responsive, and legitimate government, whether we talked that okay, the one of the main important features of being a democratic country is that it talks about deliberation and negotiation. It talks about transparency and so on. In a dictatorship you're not accountable to the people you are ruling, but in a democracy you are. Then we talked about okay chalo theek hai, that is done, legitimate government and everything. Is there any other benefit like the economic growth and development other democracies who have which democracies, whether that is the country, sorry, which countries, whether they are democratic, non-democratic, who has more economic growth, and is it better in any other way? So we didn't find much of a difference in according to the statistics, okay, if we talk about, because economic growth, and everything, all this economics doesn't depend only on one factor of this thing. This is very important that we talked about, that it does not depend on only one factor of democracy. It depends upon several other factors, whether it's population size of the country, global situation, is there any war going on, or even if there is cold war, cooperation between countries, economic priorities, like everything. Our priority as a democratic nation is very different than other countries. So then we again say that chalo, let's just compare the statistics wise. We compared and we can see that there's no much difference whether it is under a dictatorship or a democracy. But we say that the growth, difference in economic growth is not much, but the benefits of being a democratic country are far more than the economic growth, and that's the beauty of being a democratic country. Now let's talk about reduction of inequality and poverty. Okay, perhaps more than development, it is reasonable to expect democracies to reduce economic disparities. Okay, even when a country achieves economic growth, will wealth be distributed? So it questions in such a way that all citizens will have a share. And lead a better life. What should be the motive of a country, so that all the citizens, they live happily, they have access to water, infrastructure, and other facilities, right? So that's what we are talking about. And is economic growth in democracies accompanied by increased inequalities among the people, or do democracies lead to just a distribution of goods and opportunities? What does it do? So here you can see this cartoon where as it can shows, it shows voice of a poor man. So you can see his clothes are like all tattered in a way, and you can see even his mouth. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh in this cartoon, but it's I just like the way it is portrayed. How it's shown that his even his freedom of speech and expression is being withheld with this cloth. And you can see poor man, poor, not man, I don't know, this figure does not have, this person does not have slippers, his or her clothes are in a poor condition, and so on. So, democracy is a rule of majority. The poor are in majority, so democracy must be a rule of the poor. How can this not be the case? So, this cartoon character is asking this. So, let's see, okay. Democracies are based on political equality. That's the beauty of political being a democratic country. So here we're talking about political quality. All individuals have equal weight in electing representatives, parallel to the process of bringing individuals into political arena on equal footing. So if you talk about, political arena, there's equal footing. You, me, all are equal, whether it's the president or any other citizen. We find growing economic inequalities. Yes, we do agree that there are growing inequalities. A small number of ultra rich, enjoy highly proportionate share of wealth and incomes. Whenever the statistics comes, who are the rich people of the India, you will see that the all the wealth of a country, like 90% of the wealth, or 80-90% of the wealth belongs to only 10% of the population of India. So that's how, some statistics comes like this, and they show the real figures and the real situation which is on ground. Okay, not only that, either their share in the total income of the country has been increasing. Those at the bottom of the society have very little to depend upon. Their incomes have been declining. Sometimes they find it difficult to meet the basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, house, education, health. These are the basic needs. In actual life, democracies do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic inequalities, and it is sad. Yes, there is that. Democracy cannot just reduce economic inequalities, and we have seen it in our very own nation, India. In class 9 economic textbook, you've already studied about poverty in India. The poor constitute a large proportion of voters, and no party will like to lose their votes. Yet democratically elected governments do not appear to be as keen to address the question of poverty as you would expect they would. The situation is more worse in some other countries. If you talk about countries like Bangladesh, they have more than half of its population which lives in poverty. So Bangladesh is another one example. People in several poor countries are now dependent on the rich countries even for food supply. There are many countries, um, which are financially dependent, and which are even dependent for their basic needs. They get into this I'll tell you, okay, they get into this debt trap, in which one powerful country, they give them financial needs, fulfill their financial needs and everything, and that is how one small country, or poor country, becomes dependent on that other country. So let's see. uh Here, can you see the picture? That world's wealth, okay, and world's wealth owned by few. Hmm. 2%. 50% of the people who just look at the 50% of the people, how much wealth this pie is showing, the wealth of world. And you can see how the more than 50% of the people only are part of this piece of share, whereas the 2% of the people are part of this bigger share. Just imagine how disproportionate is it. Accommodation of social diversity. Do democracies lead to peaceful and harmonious life among citizens? Chalo, we've talked it on terms of economic ground. Let's talk about social diversity. It will be fair expectation that democracy should produce our harmonious social life. Everybody wants a peaceful life. We've seen it in the earlier chapters how democracies accommodate various social divisions. We saw in the first chapter how Belgium has successfully negotiated differences among ethnic population. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. This reduces the possibilities of these tensions becoming explosive or violent. No society can fully or permanently resolve conflicts among different groups, that is there. But we can certainly learn to respect these differences, and we can also evolve mechanism to negotiate. So yes, of course there are differences between, but there's no thing in the world that doesn't have solution. Democracy is best suited to produce this outcome. Non-democratic regimes often turn blind eye, matlab they don't pay heed to it. uh, or they try to, maybe, they turn blind, or they just suppress the internal social differences. Ability to handle social difference, such differences, divisions, and conflict is thus a definite plus point of democratic regime. So that's the beauty, that's the important feature of being a democratic country. But the example of Sri Lanka reminds us that a democracy must fulfill two conditions. But we've seen how, in the case of Sri Lanka, how Sinhalese is Buddhist, and then the other side we had Tamilians. One Tamilians were the Sri Lankan Tamilians, and second were the Indian Tamilians who had gone there as planters. It reminds us the two important conditions, which should be there. It is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply ruled by majority opinion. The majority always needs to work with the minority, so that governments function to represent the general view. Okay, a majority and minority opinions are not permanent, they will change with time. Sometimes they are this side, sometimes they are that side. Okay, it is also necessary that the rule by majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion or race or linguistic groups, etc. Rule by majority means that in case of every decision, or in case of election, different persons groups may um, and can form a majority. Democracy remains democracy only when, as long as every citizen has a chance of being a majority at some point of time. So that's what we are talking, that majority only remains majority when, they have a equal chance. Sometimes one can be a majority and sometimes other can be, and this majority we talking only in terms of representations. Okay, representations in the sense of this government, that they get a fair chance of representation, and not any other sense that one religion should be more or in more numbers, or that if someone is barred from being in majority on the basis of birth, then a democracy rule ceases to be accommodative, matlab included for that person or group. Are you saying that democracy ensures that people do not break each other's head? This is not harmony. Should we be happy about it? So you are saying that does it mean that, okay, that they are saying that through democracy at least people will not break their head? That is also we're not saying that they will not break. Of course, every society has some principles on which it works, and it has to be accommodated of very different views that people have. So here we can see uh, the two images depict two different kinds of effects democratic politics can have on social divisions. Take one example from each image and write a paragraph each on the outcomes of democratic politics in both situations. So you can see, okay. Mm, can you what do you understand by these two images? Okay, that this can you okay, sorry, can you see, like, this image is completely black, and this image is completely white, and when they shake hand they are exchanging their thoughts also. Okay, when they greet, when they talk, when they discuss, they exchange their thoughts. That is why you can see some of white going here, some of black going here. And this is shown like an example of a zipper, that you can't kill left. Another aspect of coordination and this thing, peace and harmony, it's trying to symbolize that here in the form of a zipper, like a zip. Okay, so now if we talk about dignity and freedom of the citizens, what does it say? Democracy stands much superior to any other form of government in promoting dignity and freedom of individual. So before, more than any form of government, it is democracy that is going to promote dignity and freedom of the individual. Every individual wants to receive respect from fellow beings. Often conflicts arise among individuals. Often some feel that they are not treated with due respect. The passion for respect and freedom are the basis of democracy. Democracies throughout the world have recorded that, at least, or in that at least in principle. This has been achieved in various degrees in various democracies. For societies which have been built for long on the basis of subordination and domination, it is not a simple matter to recognize that all individuals are equal. So this thing of that one person is superior or the other is inferior, this been cultured into us from decades, years and years, and centuries, I would say. Okay, and suddenly this all in a moment, just with a click, it cannot give it, it will take time. Okay, that every individual has to be respected, though it's not very difficult to do it. But yes, if something has been ingrained in the mind for centuries and centuries, it's not that it's gonna vanish in 2 days, 3 days, or a year. It will take time. It's an change in behavior, change in mentality. Okay, take the case of dignity of women. If we talk about the dignity of women, how it has evolved over the years, from where they were just seen as subjects of sexual objects, to now being given, or having the right, equal right, as of men in every field, from getting the coming under universal adult franchise, to even being today you'll see women in every profession, whether army, administration, flying, and everything, medical, engineering. Most societies across the world were historically male dominated women so male dominated societies. Long struggles by women have created some sensitivity towards respect and equal treatment of women. That equal treatment of women are necessary. All individuals are equal regardless of gender. you know equal treatment of women are necessary ingredients of a democratic society. That does not mean that women are actually always treated with respect, but once the principle is recognized, it becomes easier for women to wage a struggle against what is now acceptable legally and morally. We've told, okay, we've also read about this, as we all are humans and we tend to make mistakes. But if and even a country tends to make mistake, okay, because that is being governed at the end of the day by humans. And the beauty of democracy is, for example, right now I'm not talking about women, but the beauty of democracy is that if it can be things which have been done wrong can be amended. There's room for amendments, there's room for change, there is room for making corrections, and that's the beauty of a democracy. Similarly, how do we do it? By recognizing it, right? So the first important thing in change and everything is that you should realize what is wrong and right. You should recognize it. Once you recognize it, then it becomes easier to accept it and then act according to it, to wage a struggle against what is right and wrong, and even morally. It is now in a non-democratic setup. This unacceptability would not have legal basis, because the principle of individual freedom and dignity would not have the moral or legal force. We have so many fundamental rights, right to equality, that you cannot be discriminated on the basis of gender, caste, religion, or sex of birth. Place of birth, sex, and only, this there's this word only is very important. Okay. mm, when I say legal force, that it is being guaranteed to us through a legal mechanism. Here, when I say here, I'm talking about institutions such as we have courts, high court, supreme court, to go and appeal if a fundamental right is being violated. The same is true in the case of caste inequalities. Democracy in India has uh, strengthened the claims of the disadvantaged and discriminated caste for equal status and equal opportunity. You know what? Okay, just if you're a human being, what is the most thing you want even in your class? You want that all your classmates should respect you, should be friends with you. And that's the same thing we are talking about, that the people should, individuals should have equal status and equal opportunities. There are instances still of caste based inequalities and atrocities, and for these we have SCST, Atrocities Prevention Act. I think it's SCST, Atrocities Prevention Act 1989. I think I'm confused with the year, but you can confirm. Google it up. so that's your homework. But these lack the moral and legal foundation. Perhaps it is a recognition that makes ordinary citizens value their democratic rights. Valuing democratic rights is not an easy thing. When we talked about in one of the chapters, we read this very beautiful line that summarized that if you want your right to be respected, you're obliged to respect others' right. So, expectations from democracy also function as a criteria for judging any democratic country. What is most distinctive about democracy is that its examination never gets over. As democracy passes on one test, it produces another test. As people get some benefit of democracy, they will ask for more and want to make democracy even better. If you see that, okay, this scheme, okay, for example, if you see that something is benefiting you or the society, you will, of course, you would want to take more, right? If you see that investing on a particular stock, for example, company stock, you are seeing that the value of the stock is increasing, of course you will put in more money in that stock, and you'll say, acha chalo, I'll put 100 rupees, because I know in 5 6 days I'm going to get back 500. So you know that it's gonna benefit you, and that's the same case for every situation, whether it's democracy or in general in life. Okay, that is why when we ask people about the way democracy functions, they will always come up with more expectations. They say that, oh, this is the, so this is this they would, or even we would say, okay, this is better, this is good thing, it's happening, or is up, but it can be done better. So we see that, okay, something is benefiting, and we see the importance of it in the society, and we can say that yes, it can be even better. Okay, and many complaints, the fact that people are complaining itself is a testimony of the success of the democracy. It shows that people have developed awareness and the ability to expect and look critically at power holders at high and and the high and the mighty. A public expression of dissatisfaction with democracy shows the success of the democratic project. It transforms people from the status of a subject into that of a citizen. So treating people as objects, that, okay, you come under their territory, you come under their territory, you will be your jurisdiction is under that area, your jurisdiction is that under, rather than just being treated as subjects, you'll be treated as um, this thing, you'll be sorry, wait, okay, you'll be treated as citizens of India. For example, let me tell you like this, okay, like you walking in, like you are in the class, sitting in your class, and somebody, a person comes and says that, hey you, a senior in your school comes and says, hey you, okay, you'll feel bad, you'll say that, oh, this person doesn't know my name maybe, but now look at the difference. But if that person comes into the class and say, for example, let's take a name, suppose that person's name is X, okay. If that person senior comes in your class and says, hey you X, X, or they say that, hey you, this thing, for example, they take another name, or they say, oh, Amrinder, okay, let me see, Amrinder. So if they say, hey you, they say, hey Amrinder, or if this, there's a difference, somebody calling you by name, addressing you by your name, and somebody just calling you out there without not knowing your name. So just feel it someday, difference, that you not just being treated as XYZ, you are being treated by your name, you are being treated as somebody, you're being seen as an individual. Most individuals today believe that their vote makes a difference to the way the government is run, and to their own self-interest also. From the status of, so this is very status of us, to that of a citizen. So it's a very beautiful line that's been written, that no more treated as a subject, you're treated as a citizen. I'm anxious about my board exams, but democracy has so many exams and millions of examiners. Yeah, this is true, but yeah, Even the class and everything test us, they are also difficult. Okay, I'm just joking. Rosa Parks still inspires. Remember, we studied the story about her, how she, you know, this thing revolted for not standing up, or sorry, for not giving up her seat for a white person when she was sitting in a bus. Okay, so here you can see the above cartoon and graph illustrates the point made in the section of dignity and freedom of the citizens. Underline the sentence from this section which connects to the cartoon or paragraph. Mm, hey lady, that's my seat. Moral courage. Rosa Parks. Our leaders today. So how can you say this person? There's no name written here, na? Ki this person is this. Sorry, this seat is this seat belongs to this person, or the only he, or maybe this person has bought the seat. It's not that, you know. It's just a seat. Anybody can come. Whoever, it's first come first serve thing. If you've come before one person, you'll come and you'll get the seat. And if you're actually very tired and everything, sometimes it happens that certain, you will see in the Delhi metro also, that certain seats are reserved for women, or certain coach is reserved for women. Here that is different. Here when we talk about the entire we'll see one coach is reserved out. If we sorry, if a metro train has 9 coaches, 7 or 8 coaches, then out of these all the coaches, one coach is this thing reserved only for women, and that is only done for security purposes, because even dignity of women is very important. And we've seen cases where women are not treated and well and everything. And whereas the all 7 8 9 coaches are available for everybody, but in those general coaches also, you'll see that one seats are reserved for people who are differently abled, or women also. So that's okay. That's a different aspect that we are talking about here when we are saying that. And here is a different aspect that we are talking about. Okay, belief in the efficacy of vote is placed above the calculus of utility. How effective that is, those who say that the vote makes a difference. So you can see how many people, percentage of people believe in this. Okay. What is the source? SDSA team, State of Democracy in South Asia, Delhi, Oxford University Press. So this is the source of this thing. Um who's made this data and graph. So if you talk about exercise, then how does democracy produce an accountable, responsive, legislative? Of course, it is through elections. They are accountable. You have to answer what policy and everything is there, why you've come up with this. You have to produce data and everything. What are the conditions under which democracies accommodate social diversity, sharing of power? One of the biggest examples. Uh, then we have giving certain vulnerable groups advantage of not advantage, their the right which was because not given to them, because over the centuries of them being disadvantaged, because the society was like that. Give arguments to support or oppose the following section assertions. Okay, we'll see. Industrialized countries can afford democracy, but the poor countries need dictatorship to become rich. No, you've clearly seen that there is no difference in the economic growth rate between a non-democratic country who is a industrialist country and a poor country. And you've also seen whether the poor country who's under dictatorship and who's a democratic country, you've also seen the difference of the it's here. You've seen the difference in growth. There's no much difference, and maybe here whatever the difference you can see of like points, 10 or 15, 0.15 or 0.12, that difference might be that because the market conditions were like that, not because they were dictatorship or that. Because we have the data and it clearly shows that that's not how it was dependent. Democracies cannot reduce inequality of income between uh, cannot reduce inequality of incomes between different citizens. So yes, it cannot. uh, so you will oppose, this is oppose, this is support. Of course it cannot reduce inequalities, we've seen it. And the economic development also, we've seen that part democracy is not, because As we've already told that economic development, GDP, these all don't depend on only one factor, which is whether a country is democratic or not. It depends on a number of factors. The market forces which play into size, we've discussed those. Government in poor countries should spend less on poverty reduction, health, education, spend more on industries and infrastructure. Oppose? No. the, I think they should give more importance to the what's most essential and basic necessities of citizens. In democracy, all citizens have one vote, which means that there is absence of any domination and conflict. Yes, I support every citizens, whether you, me, your uncle, my parents, etc. We have one man, sorry, not man, one person, one vote, one value. My one vote will be equal to one vote only, and your one vote will be equal to one vote only. And I can give only one vote, okay? Not because if I'm teaching five people, that does not mean my vote will count is equal to five. If I am one person, my vote will count as one only. Identify the challenge uh, to democracy in the following descriptions. Also suggest policy institutional mechanism to deepen the democracy in the given situation. Following a High Court directive, a temple in Orissa that had separate entry doors for Dalits and non-Dalits allowed for them the same door. Also, policy identify the challenge in democracy. Okay, so you know we've talked a lot about such social divisions and everything in India that has been ingrained in our mind. So firstly, we have right to equality that clearly says that it is legally wrong to discriminate people on the caste, gender, on the basis of only caste, gender, place of birth, sex, religion, or so firstly, so it's wrong. And what can be done, that we have very strong laws and etc to promote. A large number of farmers are committing suicide in different states. The state can come up with better policy and program that can benefit. They can better talk to the farmers and everything. Following allegations of killing of three civilian in Gandwara in the fake encounter by Jammu and Kashmir police, an inquiry has been ordered. So this is here. If you talk about challenge, sometimes in these places like where there is more cases of insurgency, extremists or militants वगैरह, there you will quite so see the cases of fake encounter, or even in general you'll see fake encounter cases. So fake, I think better mechanism and strong, better accountability should be there. You should be answerable to your for your all your actions, whatever you even do it in the name of responsibility and duty. In the context of democracy, which of the following ideas is correct? This is mm, correct. Differences of opinion about how marginalized sections are to be treated. Okay, in the context of assessing democracy, which one is odd down? Equal treatment before law. Mm, Inequalities exist in democracies. We agree that democracies main inequalities are there. So that's it. This is just a story. What does you can read about it. Mm, how do we approach the government and ask them for a solution? If have you ever visited an government office for any solution or answer? Ask your parents if they have any experience with them like that. Okay. Okay. Bye.